Welcome into Homefield Advantage, presented by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Anthony Colsuno, excuse me.
Can't say your own name today.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Oh, Aaron's back. I didn't see you walk through the door.
Oh, I'm back from exile to my tropical paradise in Michigan.
Aaron Polling's back. Also, Elon Olive as well. And we have a great show on hand for today. Elon, give us a little bit of a rundown of the show.
Yeah, so we got some great interviews. We're going to hear from Coach Roy Barker of the Evanston Red Devil track and field team. That is a group that has high aspirations to win a conference championship. Also, we've got Glenn Smith from Rich Track and Field and Jerry Carroll from Evanston Red Devil Golf wrapping up their spring season.
Right on, right on.
Yeah, golf doesn't seem like it'd be too much fun right now.
Yeah, winter's having a bit of its encore. It's almost like we gave it its round of applause, and then we maybe cheered too hard, and it came back and it's giving us we're on day 2 of this, so a 2-song.
Yeah, I was gonna say
two-song encore.
Not even just 2 songs. They're picking the 2 longest songs from the catalog. It's not real often that a place can make Michigan look like a tropical paradise. It was 60 degrees there every single day.
You were texting me about this yesterday.
Like, wow.
It's supposed to get back up to 40 tomorrow. So.
You know what's sad is I jokingly told everyone when I come back it was probably going to snow.
Oh my gosh, this is all your fault.
It might be. The first thing I saw when I landed is Evanston weather update, snow expected, and I was like, oh no. Second worst thing that happened to me in the airport.
Yeah, that's true.
I could do a whole podcast on the worst.
You jinxed us.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, first of all, thank you for that, Aaron.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. I'm glad I could contribute.
You know who's really, really not happy with you is probably the Evanston Red Devil golf team because they have a big tournament coming up on Friday. They're going to be going to Star Valley for the first before last tournament, the penultimate tournament of the spring season. And this one's important because Star Valley is hosting the state tournament in October. So this is going to be a good opportunity for them to kind of get out, check out that tournament where the hardware is going to be handed out. But before that, last week they were over in Green River, and they had some really impressive results. So we'll go ahead and hear from Coach Jerry Carroll about that right now. Here with Evanston Red Devils golf coach Jerry Carroll. Coach Carroll, only 2 more tournaments left in the spring season. You'll be in Star Valley on Friday and then next Tuesday in Jackson. But first, I know you guys were in Green River. Tell me about that one. I'm guessing the weather was a bit of an adventure for you guys.
You know what? The weather in Wyoming in the spring plays a big part of what you can do. So far, we have held every practice, and we've made every tournament, made 18 holes, so that's a really good thing. At Green River, it was supposed to be really cold and really windy, and it was really cold, really windy. 3 teams pulled out because they thought the weather was going to be so bad. If you remember the forecast, we had Laramie not come, and we had Jackson not come down, and Pinedale not come down because, it's going to be too cold. It'll probably be canceled. When we got there, it was extremely cold, extremely windy, but I was very happy with the results from our boys and our girls. They went out and they played, and they were tough, and they overcame the obstacles or overcame the weather conditions. Our boys won that tournament. There were 6 teams there. And we won that tournament shooting a 325, so I was very pleased with them. Our girls also won. I wrote this down. They shot a 306, which was a little high. But again, the wind was about 30 miles an hour, and the temperature did not get above 40.
Talk to me real quick about some individual performances that kind of stood out to you at Green River.
Well, number one, we have Riker, who the week before had went and played in Utah. And for us, he came back and he shot a 1 under 70 under those conditions at Green River. So I thought Riker did a great job on that. But then we got Cade Brady, who got that magical number 80. And, last week he tied for first at Kemmer. And so it looks like his game's coming around. And then Jackson Hall came out with an 82. So we had a 70, an 80, an 82. So we got 3 spots taken care of. Parker Green shot a 93. And then we have our 2 freshmen who we're kind of thinking maybe one of these guys has to jump into that 4 or 5 spot for next year. But we had Brady Schmidt with a 104 and Tyler Peterson with a 102. Carson Johnson rounds it out with a 106. Kel Stokes shoots a 131. But our top 3 kids right there just had a fantastic golf day and showed a lot of character to play that well in those conditions at Green River.
Talk to me really quick about how do these scores and these results in the spring season usually translate in the fall?
You know what? When we send them off from the spring, those 3 kids there, it's like, all right, you're where we want you. Now we would like you to go 4 strokes lower over the course of the summer because it's good weather. You're going to be golfing. We're going to be playing in the Wyoming State Am. So you're going to continue to practice. So we believe that whatever you end with in the spring, we think that you should be 4 strokes lower than that by the time you get into the fall season. And that's for the kids who are right there at the 78, 79 mark. Those kids who are the 104, 105, I would expect to see them round down into around 90 by the time we get to the start of the fall season. We just expect that once we've got the flaws, got you with a good grip and a good stance and a solid fundamental swing, that you'll just continue to improve through practice and having good course time.
On average, how much course time in the summer do you guys ask of these young athletes in the summer?
We believe that they should hit golf balls 5 times a week. You know, sometimes you do not have time to go 4 or 5 hour rounds. You can't go 18 holes, but you can always go to the golf course and put an hour in pitching and putting. You can always go to the golf course, hit a bucket of balls. So we at least like to get, and we say minimum of 4 days and hopefully 5 days a week where you actually go to the golf course, pitch and putt, hit golf balls and be on the green, even if you can't play every day.
Talk to me really quick about this Star Valley tournament over in Afton coming up on Friday and what you guys are expecting from that.
Well, number one, Star Valley's hosting next year the state tournament on the golf course that we're playing, which is Valley View. And so it's a very important golf course for our kids to get experience on. The more experience we can be there, the more comfortable we get with that golf course, the better results we'll expect in the fall. It's a very short course. It's got a lot of sand on it. And so you have to be very good at wedge play and you have to be very good at sand play. And so those are the 2 things we'll emphasize going into this week.
Judging from what you've seen from your team this spring, how do you feel like their sand and their wedge play has come along?
Our sand play is something that we struggle a little bit. And wedge play, let's be honest, we don't have a practice wedge area. We've made our own, and AJ's been real good up at the golf course over by the Ichiban. We've got a green there that he's mowed for us that we leave shag bags and have our kids go there and hit. They have to unlock them from the fence. So we're trying to do that just because we don't have an area for pitching and putting. And our sand play, I think it's going to be better and better because our golf course, the Purple Sage, just got new sand. And I think that'll translate into us being better sand players. We just got some brand new sand all across the course. If you haven't been there, it's great. It's good sand, and you'll get better just because you'll have better practice conditions.
That's Coach Jerry Carroll, head coach for Evanston Red Devil Golf. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck this Friday over in Star Valley. Really important tournament for you guys. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Hey, Marley Torres had a great tournament at Green River. She shot a 93, and she was number 1. Maddie Brown, she shot a 97 and was second overall. And those 2 girls have been tough all spring long and doing a great job. And Emmy Fessler is just improving every time she goes out and play. So I think our girls are doing a great job as well as our boys. Just appreciate you letting me talk about golf, and go Red Devils.
Big thank you to Coach Jerry Carroll for Evanston Red Devil Golf for joining us today on Homefield Advantage. And boys, you hear some of those results. Of course, Rikerland wins the Green River tournament. The girls finished first as well. The boys as a team finished first. I think you said the boys as a group shot 385 this early in the season in windy, cold conditions. Former golfer Anthony Colasuno, what does that tell you?
It just tells that this team is ready to go for the fall, but also they're taking this season very seriously as well. It's kind of tricky because when I played high school golf, it was just one season, and you practice. The rest of the year was off season. You practiced however you wanted to, and then once the season got closer, the team came back together, practiced. But with spring golf kind of being that practice season in Wyoming, a lot of teams will just go there and be, let's try to get here, let's try to improve this, or everyone get a single achievement they want to improve on. It's very much a team effort. But also in windy and cold conditions, the ball feels like a rock when you're hitting it. I've been in those type of tournaments before. It doesn't feel good. And for them to go out there, just dominate the Green River tournament, it shows how ready and prepared this squad is for all conditions.
Yeah, shooting a 70 in the weather conditions. That's the super impressive part is they're able to come out and do this with, it being cold and windy. And I can't think of two more adverse effects that you could have on a golf course. Like, if it's windy, I don't want to be out there. I'm sure there's a lot of players out there that didn't want to be out there as well. But hats off to the Red Devils for battling through, embracing the suck, as I like to say, and getting it done.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back on Homefield Advantage, brought to you by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. We'll hear from Rich track coach Glenn Smith. You're tuned in to Homefield Advantage here on mylocalradio.com.
When you have an emergency, choose Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Open 24/7, the professional emergency room staff is trained for trauma, medical, cardiac, pediatric, orthopedic, and obstetric emergencies. Bear Lake Memorial is a critical access level 3 trauma center, offering immediate access to radiology, lab services, surgery, and internal medicine consults. The ER teams are well-trained professionals who are ready to act. When you have an emergency, Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, the most caring hospital on earth.
Out here, we've always worked remote. Out here, stress usually refers to the pull on a rope. Where a stroll in the city is also a stroll in the great outdoors. Where work is a way of life, and life is good. Out here, the backyards are big, and the deals, they're even bigger. This is southwestern Wyoming, and it's where you can get the biggest deals on a vehicle you want with plenty of hometown hospitality. Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Whether it's for your home, your ranch, your equipment, or your business, when you need propane, count on the best. T7 Propane in Woodruff. The safe and professional team at T7 Propane offers quality product and the most responsive propane service in the area, so you can enjoy the affordability, reliability, and efficiency of propane. For heating, cooking, grilling, motor fuel, and more, count on the team at T7 for your personal or business propane needs. 435-793-4208.
At Reese Auto Service in Lyman, you will find highly skilled mechanics who will get the job done right the first time. They work on anything from light line jobs of tire alignments, suspension work, and oil changes to heavy line jobs of engine replacement, differentials, and all powertrain components. Make sure all your recreational vehicles are working at top speed by getting them checked at Reese Auto Service in Lyman so your time having fun doesn't end early. Reese Auto Service, 541 State Highway 413, Lyman.
Welcome back into Homefield Advantage, presented by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. And a shout out to a few of our sponsors: Union, Reese Auto, Les Schwab Plains Tires, and also Stacy's Repair. We can't do any of these broadcasts or any of our shows without any of you guys, so a big thanks. And we're going to swing it over to Aaron as he has a interview with Glenn Smith, the head coach of Rich Track and Field.
Yeah, so interesting time for Rich High School Track coming up. They have their regional meet, and they have quite a few people who are expected to be successful, leading the way, obviously, Violet Taylor, huge name around Rich High School for everyone else in Uinta County who might not know Violet Taylor's name. She broke the 1A state record last year in the 100-meter sprint, and all she's done is continued this year to beat that record and then just set more state records. So she's looking like she's going to have a heck of a day at regionals, leading to a heck of a day at state. As it'll be interesting to see how the teams do, because the Rebels, their team on the girls' side, they have some talent. They're lacking a little bit of numbers though in certain spots, so that's where it gets a little dicey in the numbers game for track. Where the boys, they have quite a few athletes, but they don't have the athletes in the long distance runs, and that could be where that tanks them.
It's always interesting because yes, it's a team competition, but also it's one of those deals where it's kind of you hope you have a star in like at least one event. I mean, because chances are in the teams you're put at a disadvantage because numbers. It's a number teams in track and swimming. It's a numbers game. You know, who are the bigger teams usually go and win the overall competition, but it's more about kind of, you know, having that one, in my mind, having that one race, that one event to kind of keep an eye on. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the Rebels, that's Violet Taylor, and Violet Taylor she's expected to win a couple state championships. I was talking to her in her 300-meter event. She was 5 seconds faster than the next person in the state. And then in the 100-meter race, she was a full second faster than the next person. Just blazing.
That is a huge margin of victory in a sprint.
Oh, every time she broke away in basketball, it's here comes the fastest girl in 1A history. Yeah.
And well, that's why.
yeah, and she just blow by people. It's amazing how fast Violet Taylor is, and I'm excited to see how the tournament goes, or excuse me, how the meet goes. But let's turn it over to Coach Glenn Smith.
Here with head coach of the Rich Rebels varsity track team, that is Coach Glenn Smith. And Coach Smith, it's the week. Regionals are coming up this week. What's your feeling going into this regional meet?
Well, I'm excited. You know, we went to BYU last week and the Dyno track meet, and we had a lot of PRs, and the kids did really well. So I'm excited for this week at Regions. Hopefully we can build on what happened this last week.
So your kids were able to get to see the track that they're going to run on this week. How much of an advantage is that?
You know, I think it helps out. One of the big things it'll help out is the throwers, because they're out there in the middle by themselves, and everything at BYU seems bigger than at other track meets. And so it's good for them to experience that before the actual state meet.
So what advice have you given some of your younger athletes that may have not been in this situation before? Because obviously you have a multi-state champ on your team already, but what about some of the younger kids? What advice can you give them to get them ready for this weekend?
I think the biggest thing is just prepare mentally, because, you know, running's a lot mentally, especially in the distances. If you can be mentally strong as you're going through your third lap, that helps out. And then the same thing when you're setting up in the block for the sprints, just not getting over anxious, just do what you've done the whole year and wait for the gun to go off and then get a good start and go from there.
What do you want to see for your team this week in practice? It's obviously the last week of practice before the regional meet. What do you want to see from them?
So biggest thing I want to do is we want to work on speed work. So the big thing is to work hard and work fast in what they're doing, whether it be throwing or jumping or running. We just want things to go fast and with power.
I asked you a couple weeks ago as a coach if you kind of start scoreboard watching to see what other times are. Does that intensify now, or is it kind of the same? What is your thought process as a coach going into the week?
It intensifies this week because you have an opportunity to see, you know, everyone's been to the big track meets, BYU, Dyno, so they've ran under the same conditions, and so now you can kind of see where your athletes fit in with other schools' athletes.
Conditions were something I want to talk about because I'm not used to snow in May. I'm still not incredibly happy about snow in May. What are the conditions looking like? Obviously, you guys are going down to BYU, so I'm hoping for you guys, knock on wood, that the weather's a little bit better.
Yeah, so hopefully it won't be snowing. I'm not a big fan of snow in May either, so... But yeah, so the weather Friday, so our track meets on Friday, and it's looking like it should be decent weather Friday, so we're crossing our fingers and hoping we can get some decent weather for our regionals.
Who are some athletes that you can kind of look to when you get to the team aspect of track that you can look to that will kind of try to right the ship for you? Obviously, one that comes to mind is Violet Taylor. She's a multi-time state champ, broke her own record a couple times this year. Who are some of the athletes that you kind of turn to for leadership?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's Violet, there's Haiti, the senior girls, Riley Moldenhauer. They've been to the state track meet before and regionals, and so they kind of have experienced it, so they know what's going on and can help the other kids be a little more relaxed.
A successful week for Rich Track looks like what?
I think if we qualify a lot of our kids for state, so last year we had four place the top 4 at state. This year there's a top 6, so I'm looking forward to qualifying some additional athletes for our state meet.
Yeah, that was Coach Glenn Smith, the head varsity track coach at Rich High School. And, the excitement that he's showing right now for his team going into the regional tournament, or regional meet, you can see that excitement is still with the athletes as well. And it'll be an interesting time. The girls, they're a very senior-laden team. We'll see how it goes. And the boys, they have the numbers. It's just, would they be willing to take someone that doesn't run the 2-mile usually, stick them in the 2-mile for the sake of trying to get points? And even if you do that, is that fair to that kid? Because now you're going up against kids that have run the 2-mile all year. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting to see how it'll play out on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I know if I was a kid that didn't run the 2-mile and I got stuck in the 2-mile, I'd be like, uh-oh. Quite frankly, if I ever got asked to run the 2-mile, I'd be like, uh-oh.
I'd be offended. Yeah. I was going to say, someone asked me to run 2 miles now, I'm offended. It's funny because Coach Smith did point out, the long distance runs, those are a mental grind. You have to mentally prepare for those. And who knows, maybe if you're going to stick someone in there last second, you do it last second, and they don't have time to mentally prepare and think about it. They just got to go.
And as far as the team competition, those runs are really, really important. We'll hear actually about that when we talk with Roy Barker in a few minutes. But the other thing that kind of stood out to me is that you guys are running a meet at BYU right before regionals, which means you are getting used to that track.
Absolutely.
You're getting used to everything that it's going to basically a dress rehearsal where we've handled this, and we know what to expect. We know what this track is like. We know where our spots are. So it's a smart move.
Oh yeah, we talked about for the throwers. I think it's a huge advantage for them just because now you're there and you get to see how it's set up.
Yeah.
And for the throwers, I think it's a big difference because it's a lot different than most of the high school tracks that you go to where it's just kind of off to the side, but it's still by everything, where at BYU, from where I understand, that it's not near anything. So you're kind of just open in a field by yourself in front of people. And that could be a little bit nerve-wracking versus, half the meet is watching the running going on while half the meet's watching the throwing.
Well, also for the runners, it feels like every track is a little bit different. And I think giving people like Violet Taylor, she can go out onto a track that she's never been on and probably run a blistering time, but you're going to put her on a track that she's used to and very familiar with. Oh, boy.
Yeah, she might backpedal to the podium. You know what I mean? She's just got that type of explosive quickness. And, getting out there and just seeing it and knowing how the day is going to go at that meet, where you're supposed to go to check in, I think that's a huge advantage. And I think it's an advantage that a lot of teams have really taken. A lot of teams don't get the opportunity to go to BYU. I know that Rich is one of the few teams in 1A that go to the BYU meet.
Yeah, and that's a huge meet. Evanston was at that meet. It is a massive meet, and we'll actually hear from Roy Barker talk about that. But the reason why they go to that is because it is actually bigger than the Wyoming State track meet, than the regional track meet. It's one of those deals where if you can compete here, you're going to be just fine moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Coach Roy Barker, we're going to hear from him when we come back after this. You're tuned in to Homefield Advantage, brought to you by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
Hey there, I'm Jake Major, your local Medicare and insurance benefits advisor for the Bullock Agency of Wyoming. With over 25 years of experience protecting families in rural America, we understand the importance of having an affordable insurance coverage. Whether you're searching for extra coverage or looking to understand and switch your Medicare options, I can help you find a range of top-rated insurance companies and tailor-made packages based on your needs. Call me, Jake Major, today at 307-209-4685 and let's discuss your insurance options. We're the Bullock Agency of Wyoming, when benefits matter.
If you've never heard a mechanic say they truly care, then you've been at the wrong place. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff is a family-owned and operated business open since 1992. Offering all types of maintenance and repair services, you can be sure your vehicle is operating at its best. Whether your vehicle is older or the newest model, gas or diesel, we fix and maintain them all. Also offering chip repair, windshield replacement, and tires. When your vehicle needs a mechanic, bring it to the ones who truly care. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff.
Founded in 1938 with the hopes and dreams of serving the Bridger Valley, Benedict's Trading Company was started. Now 85 years and 3 generations later, Benedict's Market is still serving the Bridger Valley by offering the highest quality meats and fresh produce to having fresh baked items and hot deli options. Benedict's Market is your one-stop for all of your grocery needs. Benedict's Market offers the best services in a modern setting to make your shopping both quick and easy. Visit them today at 950 North Highway 414, Mountain View, Wyoming.
Life is better in the country. KNYN, Fort Bridger, Evanston, Woodruff, 99.1. The country you want to be in.
Welcome back to Homefield Advantage, presented by Jacob Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming. And Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, Anthony Colasuno, Aaron Poling, and Elon Olive. And before we get into the interview with Roy Barker, head coach of Evanston Track and Field, we'd like to thank a couple more of our sponsors: Heritage Auto, First Bank of Wyoming, Benedict's Ace and Benedict's Market, Station on Main, and T7 Propane. We can't do any of these events without any of your guys' help and support, so we thank you very much. And Elon, we have a interview with Roy Barker.
Yeah, absolutely. They wrapped up their regular season at that BYU meet we talked about. Now they're off to Rock Springs for conference, where you said at the very beginning of the year the goal for the boys, and now it's turned into the same goal for the girls, is they want to walk away conference champions. We ask him what that's going to take and a little bit more, so here is that conversation with Mr. Roy Barker.
Here with Evanston Red Devils track and field head coach Roy Barker. Coach Barker, culminating events are here. It's the conference championship meet in Rock Springs this weekend. Talk to me real quick about how you guys are feeling about your chances to go in there and make some noise before the state meet in a couple weeks.
I think our goals haven't changed since the beginning of the year. We know we've had a good team. We know the girls team has really developed. A lot of old girls with a mix of good young girls. So I think the girls team has really grown up, and so they have a really great chance of placing well as well as the boys do. That's been our goal since the start, is to try to win a region championship. So the kids have worked hard enough, and now we just need some things go our way and see what happens.
What needs to go your way in order for you guys to bring home those titles?
It's interesting. Some coaches will pass kids through that have pre-qualified. We might do a little bit of that same thing, because it's pretty tough on those distance runners to go 4 races on a region and then try to pull that again at state. So you do try to rest them up a little bit, because it's really difficult on their bodies. So there is some of that things that, could bounce in our favor. But also just, it's those kids that are ranked like 10th, 11th, and 12th that pop in there and get, 7th or 8th. And those are the kind of things that we need to have happen.
Coach, now that the regular season is over, how many pre-qualifiers do you guys end the regular season with?
I want to say individually, the boys will end up with 7 pre-qualifiers in multiple events, and the girls will have 6 in individual events. And we got a bunch of relays pre-qualified as well. And so it's been a really good year when it comes to those marks.
Coach, how many spots at state do you feel like you can pick up with good performances here at the conference meet?
So for our team, I think for as many kids as we could take, it just really all just depends. It's, our top kids are going to make it in. We know that. But like I said, it's those 7th and 8th place kids. I think we got projecting possibly taking almost 32 kids to state, which, anywhere from 13 to 17 kids in each gender. And so we're really excited about this, probably as many as we've taken in a long time. So we're really hoping that we can get 15 to 16 kids from each side to be able to make it to state in multiple events.
Coach, where do you feel like this team has kind of improved the most throughout the season? What's kind of impressed you about this group?
I think the distance runners, that's pretty typical of distance running. where they really start to blossom at the end of the year, just with all the training. Some of those marks, we had a couple pre-qualifiers in the 800. Kids really ran well at BYU this last weekend. And so those kids were phenomenal. And, that's kind of expected each year. The sprinters, I think we're getting Gabe healthy. He PR'd in the 200 the other day at BYU. So it's good to see him healthy again. And so I think that's, for us, it's going to be really fun and interesting to see how much, you taper off a little bit this week and you get really geared up for this weekend. And so, if some kids can hit those good marks to be able to bust into that, into the top 8 for region.
Talk to me about what it does for you guys to prepare for these culminating events, to have your final regular season meet be such a big one over at BYU.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids get pretty nervous over there and didn't perform very well. It was pretty intimidating, and that was kind of the message we would tell the kids going into it. Is like, hey, if you can handle BYU, you can handle region and state. That thing meet is impressive, and it's very difficult and it's very competitive. And so our kids have seen big meets, and that's really intentional on our part to put them in some big moments so that they do get a little nervous or anxious or be able to have to deal with those feelings. And so hopefully that does lead us into a good culminating event time.
That is Coach Roy Barker, head coach for Evanston Red Devil Track and Field. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on a great regular season. Best of luck at conference. Can't wait to check in with you next week after that. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Big thank you to Coach Roy Barker of Evanston Red Devil Track and Field. And Anthony, you hear the interview, you hear the lofty goals. They want to take 15 to 17 kids per team to state. They've got 7 and 6 on the boys team and girls team pre-qualified respectively. It's going to be a very exciting weekend for the Red Devil track team in Rock Springs.
Very exciting. And also I love that he mentioned the BYU track meet, and that is such a huge high-pressure event. That builds up that pressure and that kind of like comfortable zone for regionals at Rock Springs. So it's just a huge task, and I think the Red Devils can definitely achieve it.
Aaron, Coach mentioned that they go to that meet and they go to these massive meets in the middle of the season and at the end of the regular season, because by the time you get to the regional meets and the state meets, they're smaller than the BYU meet. It's one of those deals where it's like, hey, if you can compete here, you can go compete and throw your best time out there, throw your best throws, make your best jumps at the state meet.
Absolutely. It's also iron sharpening iron. If you think about it, you're going to probably go against a lot of really good athletes from
bigger
Utah.
schools.
And these are athletes you might not see, but you get pushed a little bit more. It also makes you comfortable. I don't want to say being uncomfortable. It makes you comfortable with these massive track meets where there's just so many people around. Now you slow it down, you go to a conference meet where it's kids that you've seen almost your entire life growing up, and now you're going to be super comfortable. But being in an uncomfortable situation, it's surprising how often if you do that, you just become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that helps in a big situation like a conference track meet.
Well, it also helps with like the pressure and I mean, you and I have been in competitions where they're big and they're anxiety ridden. You're just kind of like, I want to get going. I want this to feel normal. I want this to feel familiar. And having that type of experience at a big meet, all of it is going to feel normal. It is going to feel familiar. At the end of the day, you're running the same event that you've always run all year. You're throwing the same thing. Everything is the same. The key to success in sports is, wow, I had the word and it sounded so good and it just fell out of my head. But routine. That's what it is. That's the key to success in sports is routine, and just realizing you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you're executing it the same way over and over and over again.
Yeah, and to be able to do that, so a lot of sports like basketball, like team sports, you have home games and road games where track you get one home meet. And all your other meets are on the road. And I think that's an advantage because obviously the state meet will be on the road and the conference meet will be on the road. And just having those opportunities to, travel. Part of the routine of sports is to travel. How do you ride the bus? Do you sleep on the bus? Are you one of those people that doesn't do the same thing each time? Or because for me personally, I had to sleep. the anxiety would get to me the entire time. We'd ride a bus for 2 hours. I had to try to sleep at least. Where some of these kids, maybe they have a routine of I sit in seat 7 next to the window and I look out the window the entire time. Just different things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of speak about the same with golf. You have one tournament at your home course usually, and then you might get regionals or state, depending on the year, back at your home course, but that happens every 4 to 5 years, or how many years on rotation, because you have so many schools in your respective conference. Yeah, and it's just going to have to be that familiar, routine they go through. How familiar are they? And, kind of realizing that I've ran this event over and over and over again, and kind of not necessarily blocking your surroundings, because you want to listen to your coach and your teammates for advice and all that, but also just focusing down to the wire during your event and just kind of gaining that tunnel vision of, hey, I got this, let's get it rolling, let's qualify for state.
They will be competing this weekend at Rock Springs at conference. We wish them the best luck. Cannot wait to talk with Coach Roy Barker about their results. Before we go, Aaron, we got some big soccer games coming up this week.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do, as the Evanston Red Devils, their regional tournament starts on Thursday. The boys will play Rock Springs at 4 p.m. at Star Valley High School. Sorry, you see why I get confused a little bit.
Yep.
A lot of different
exactly
schools.
What's going on.
And then the girls, to throw another monkey wrench in there to make it a little bit more confusing, 2 p.m., Jackson High School.
And they're playing Jackson.
And they are playing Jackson too, correct. I will have the broadcast of the Evanston Rock Springs game. The boys' game is Star Valley. Our good friend Jake Nichols will have the girls' game up in Jackson, so a huge thank you for him for stepping in and doing that. So that way we could bring you both games, or else it would have been physically impossible for me to call one game, drive down to Star Valley, and get to the other game. So,
Well, and the whole reason they're doing this is, I believe, with Fields, the Star Valley and Jackson are kind of joint hosting this, at least for the first day. The second day, if Evanston wins, they'll be playing at Star Valley. But this is big, and it's matchup number 3 against the Tigers. Very similar to what happened in 2021 when Evanston was able to beat Rock Springs in extra time and get the win and punch their ticket to state for the very first time. 2 really, really close games in the regular season, both going to Rock Springs. It's going to be exciting.
They have to feel good about the way they played at Rock Springs.
Yeah.
They were a crossbar doink off the back of Jagger Lichty away from it being a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Like, the first goal that went in was kind of a tough luck one. Kid hit the post.
Yep.
It hits the keeper, goes in. Not really much you can do about it. The second goal they gave up, another crossbar, except this time the ball just happens to deflect off the crossbar right to the foot of a Rock Springs player. They bury it. It's 2-1, but realistically that's inches away from that game being 1-0. If that shot misses Lichty on its way back through and just goes back out in the box, they corral it, that goal doesn't score. And if that ball hits the crossbar and instead of going to the Rock Springs player, it bounces off, it goes to an Evanston player, and they clear it. 2 goals that are a matter of inches away. So if you're the Red Devils, you have to have confidence going into that game that we can play with this team.
It's not outside the realm of possibility. This is a winnable game for Evanston.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we will talk more about that on Thursday's edition of Home Field Advantage. Invite you to join us tomorrow for the student section right here on mylocalradio.com. This has been Home Field Advantage, brought to you by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. I'm Elon Off.
I'm Aaron Poling.
Anthony Colsuno.
And we will see you guys next time.